Welcome. Today, we're diving into one of the most amazing and, let's be honest, nerve-wracking parts of the whole IVF journey. We're talking about how you actually choose the one embryo that has the absolute best shot at becoming a healthy pregnancy. It's a huge decision, right? So let's break down how it all works. Okay, so picture this. You've made it through all the appointments, all the procedures, and you finally get to this amazing moment. You have these beautiful little embryos, each one just full of potential. But now comes the big question. Which one is it? How in the world do embryologists figure out which one is the most likely to lead to a baby? It's this incredible mix of science, high-tech tools, and, as you're about to see, maybe even a little bit of art. So, the first method they use is all about looks. It's called morphological grading, but honestly, you can just think of it as a beauty contest for embryos. Seriously, you have the embryologist, who's like this super skilled judge, peering through a microscope, looking for all the signs of a healthy, vibrant little embryo.
Yeah, this is kind of the classic way of doing things, the tried and true method. An embryologist gets up close and personal with each embryo using a really powerful microscope. They're looking at everything, its shape, how the cells are dividing, just its overall vibe, really, to try and predict which one has the best potential to keep growing.
And what's really cool is that what they're looking for actually changes as the embryo grows. So on day 3, it's pretty straightforward. They're just counting the cells and making sure they look nice and even. But by day 5, whoa, it's a whole different ballgame. The embryo has become this more complex thing called a blastocyst. Now they're looking at how much it's expanded, the quality of the inner cell mass, that's the part that's going to become the baby, which is so cool, and also the trophectoderm, which is the outer layer that'll eventually become the placenta. It gets way more detailed. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. A top-graded embryo, one that looks absolutely perfect, is awesome, but it's not a guarantee. You know how they say you can't judge a book by its cover? Well, it's kind of the same thing here. An embryo can look like a total superstar on the outside, but still have some issues on the inside that you just can't see, not even with the best microscope. So if looking at it isn't the whole story, what else is there? Well, to really get the full picture, we have to go deeper. We need to look past the surface and check out what's happening on a genetic level, right inside the embryo's DNA. And that leads us to this second tool in the toolkit, which is super powerful. It's called pre-implantation genetic testing, or PGT for short. So if grading is the beauty contest, you can think of PGT as lifting the hood of a car to check the engine. It's all about what's on the inside. Now, PGT is actually an umbrella term for a few different tests that check for different genetic stuff. We're not going to get into all of them today, but we are going to focus on the one that you hear about most often, which is PGTA. All this test does, and it's super important, is count the chromosomes to make sure there's the right number. And having the right number of chromosomes is absolutely crucial for a healthy pregnancy. And the whole point of PGTA is to find what are called euploid embryos. That's just the scientific word for an embryo with the correct number of chromosomes, exactly 46. An embryo that's euploid has by far the best shot at implanting properly and growing into a healthy baby. Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting. What happens when the best-looking embryo isn't the one that's genetically normal? You have a clash, a real showdown between looks and genes. What do you do? This right here just lays out the dilemma perfectly. Let's say you've got embryo A. On paper, it's a stunner, a top grade 4AA. It looks amazing, but its genetic test comes back abnormal. On the other hand, you have embryo B. It doesn't look quite as perfect. It got a lower grade, a 4BC, but its genetic test? Totally normal. So, which one would you pick? The beautiful one with abnormal genetics, or the not-so-perfect-looking one that's genetically healthy? Well, the answer, and all the science points to this, is pretty clear-cut. Clinics will almost always tell you to go with embryo B, the one with the lower grade but the normal genetics. And why is that? It's because genetic health is just a way, way better predictor of whether an embryo will become a baby. An embryo that looks great but has the wrong number of chromosomes often won't even implant or can lead to miscarriage. It's something its appearance just can't tell you. So when you put it all together, the visual grade, the genetic results, how does the team actually make that final, incredibly important choice? Well, it's a really smart step-by-step approach. First, you've got the visual grading. That's step 1, where they look at all the embryos. Then comes step 2, the genetic testing, which gives that critical peek under the hood. And finally, for step 3, the doctor and the embryologist put their heads together. They look at all the data, the beauty contest results, and the genetic report to pick the number 1 candidate.
So if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's that these two methods aren't competing against each other. They're actually partners. They work together. By combining the art of looking at the embryo with the hard science of its genetics, your team gets the most complete story possible, and that helps them pick the embryo that gives you the best possible chance of success. It's about using every tool you've got.
Okay, and before we finish up, just a really quick and important reminder. Everything we've talked about here is just for educational purposes. This is definitely not medical advice. For any personal questions or guidance, you absolutely have to talk to your own doctor.
And hey, if you want to learn more about the whole IVF process from start to finish, there's a fantastic resource you can check out. It's the portal IVF for Me, and you can find it at ivfforme.com.
So we'll leave you with this to think about. When it comes down to choosing that one special embryo, is it a pure science? Is it an art form? Or is it this perfect, magical blend of both? It's a pretty cool thing to think about as you continue on your journey to build your family.